Now, since 1998, South Africa has recognized persecution based on gender and sexuality as legitimate grounds for asylum. This makes it one of the very few countries in the African continent to actually extend refugee protection based on sexuality. So, one of the things that we want to look into today is whether the Refugee Act has actually materialized in making sure that these rights are actually protected and what actually happened in reality. I'm your host, Lelethu, and today we are discussing the LGBTQI plus community as migrants as well as asylum seekers. Please do not forget to join in on our social media conversations. Remember, on our Instagram, we are official Africa_Unite. On Twitter, we are Africa_Unite_ZA. And on Facebook, we are Africa Unite. Today, we're joined by a very, very special guest, Thomas. He's the director of the Fruit Basket in Joburg. And he does work in making sure that they advocate for the rights of the LGBTQIA plus community, specifically those that are migrants as well as asylum seekers. And he will be helping us unpack some of the challenges they've had faced in making sure they advocate for these rights. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us on the show. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Now let's get right to it, right? My first question would be, what are some of the most common challenges the LGBTQIA plus community faces, especially those that are asylum seekers as well as migrants, when they come into South Africa? What would you say are maybe your top three most common challenges?
Okay, so there are a whole lot of challenges. I cannot even begin to list all of them right now. There are a lot of challenges that we face as a community, but I think most of them, not I think, I know that most of them come from our undocumented statuses because the asylum system in the country, I don't know if I can say it's broken or if I should just say it's not working as it is supposed to work. So many people find themselves undocumented, not because they don't want to regularize their stay in the country, not because they are not following the steps that they are supposed to follow to do the right things, but it's just that there's so many barriers along the way. The system doesn't work. It's either one goes to the refugee reception center to try and start the process, but they hear stories around the system is down. They go the following day, they're told to return. It's always one story after the other. And also there's issues like, so you left your country. There are people who are working at the Department of Home Affairs who are openly homophobic, who are openly xenophobic, right? That you hear someone coming back with a complaint that, oh, I was there and they were asking me, so I left my country to come and be homosexual here. You left your country to come and corrupt us here. Your country doesn't want it, so do you think that we want it here? So it's a whole lot of different reasons that cause our people to remain irregular in the country. So the issue, all of the other challenges.
Yeah, so sorry to cut you. You've touched on very interesting points there, and that was going to lead to my second question. So the issue is mostly on implementation. Everything is there in paper on black and white, right? But the implementation seems to be the problem.
Implementation is the problem. So we've got issues where organizations and some activists have gone to sensitize employees at the Department of Home Affairs. But you know how it is with these things. Maybe the person who was sensitized yesterday then quit today, this morning, and there's a whole new person. So this issue of also sensitizing employees is also another issue that doesn't really, do what it's supposed to do, because people are leaving the job and new people are coming in. So it's a lot of problems. But it's not only about the employees being xenophobic, being homophobic. It's the system itself, to be honest. Because so now I was just going to say, like, even if we try to address the issues, to say that, hey, can we have a conversation because your systems are not working and they're causing a whole lot of other challenges for our community. So obviously from people's undocumented statuses, they cannot access basic statuses like healthcare, like employment, like education, So all of this stems from being undocumented. We have a whole lot of other challenges. So maybe if we can be able to find a way to fix this one main problem, then I think all the other puzzle pieces will fall into place, because this is where it's beginning. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the problem also is DHA is not responsive.
Yeah. So the main challenge is then the documentation part, right? So if that can be fixed, you think the other issues as well can sort of be fixed as well?
Not 100%, because obviously there are people who are homophobic, who are xenophobic out there. But at least you know that the main thing, you can deal with the homophobe, you can deal with the xenophobe, you know. There's ways that we can address those challenges. So for example, you go and look for employment, or you go to a bank with your asylum and you want to open an account and they say no. We obviously have lawyers and other people who can pay that bank a visit and have that resolved immediately. But if you don't have the papers, then it means that you never have to walk to the bank anyway, because the basic requirement you don't possess. So I think that it's the first step to resolving some of the other challenges that our community is facing daily. The country, or South Africa as a whole, the government taking accountability to say, you have opened your borders and you have said that you grant status, refugee status, based on sexual orientation and gender identity. So we have a crisis in Uganda at the moment that I think you know about.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So obviously, because South Africa is one of the very few countries in the continent who are granting protection based on gender identity, so and sexual orientation. So everybody right now who is trying to get out of Uganda wants to come to South Africa, you know. So it's a very tricky situation, because you know that they are running away from a very terrible situation, but then they are coming into this country without knowing that they're going to face a whole other challenge that might even be almost the same as what they are running away from. And then it leaves us in a very difficult situation where someone reaches out to say, hey, I want to come there, I need to get out of here. And we want them to get out because we know Uganda is not safe, right? But for us to also tell them that, yes, please do everything that you can to come here, as if, you know, everything is just going to be okay once they get here. It leaves us in a very vulnerable situation where we have to tell people that bitter truth, to say, hey, okay, find a way to come. Once you've gotten here, just know that you're going to be faced with a whole other bunch of challenges that might frustrate you even more than you're already frustrated. So I think the time has come, you know, for the country to take responsibility, for DHA especially, to start being responsive, because we hear things like, I was in a meeting the other day, and the Department of Social Development was there, City of Johannesburg was there, lawyers for human rights and civil society organizations, and everybody was saying that we have sent emails to DHA, we have requested meetings, we have done this, but we have not gotten a response. So I think the time has come, you know, for that to change. There is a crisis on our continent. There is a crisis in this country. And I think it's time that we live up to.
There's a huge crisis. Thank you so much for that, Thomas. Yeah, thank you so much for that. We unfortunately have to quickly run to the ad break. I just want to quickly then ask you what's some of the work that you do at the Fruit Basket, just very briefly, and how can people get a hold of you? What's some of the work that you do to make sure that you curb this very, very serious issue?
Because our people are unemployable, because they're undocumented, we do skills development training so that we can just give people skills so they can be able to start their own income generating projects, so they can be able to survive, right? We also train people on how to navigate the asylum systems through workshops. And for this, we collaborate with other organizations, Lawyers for Human Rights, the UNHCR, and anyone else who has expertise in this kind of area. And also we offer relief, you know, because we know our community is very much disadvantaged. People don't have jobs, so they don't have food, they don't have rent, they don't have accommodation. So we try to support them in that way. We also running safe spaces where we host people so that they can just be able to integrate into society. And when they're okay, then they can move on and try to, you know.
Awesome. And how do people get a hold of you? Quickly. Are you on social media? Where are you based?
Social media, yes. So we have a website. It's www.thefruitbasket.org.za. And we also have a Facebook page, an Instagram account, and a Twitter account. And the handle for all our social media pages is @every_fruit.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Thomas. Now, after the break, we will be joined by Masi, who will be sharing her personal story about some of the challenges she has faced as a migrant LGBTIA plus community member in South Africa. Please stay tuned. Don't forget to engage with us on our social media pages. On Instagram, we are official_Africa Unite. On Twitter, we are Africa_Unite_ZA. And on Facebook, we are Africa Unite. Stay tuned. See you after the break. And welcome back right to it. You are still watching Conversations with Africa Unite right here on CTV. Today we are discussing a very important topic. We're looking into the LGBTQIA plus community as migrants and asylum seekers. And in the first segment, we were joined by Thomas, who helped us unpack some of the policies and the laws that regard this very important topic. But right now we have Masi Zakata, who will be helping us unpack her story and what some of the challenges she has faced as a member of this very important and vulnerable community in South Africa. She is from the Safe Place International as well as Pachetu, and she'll be giving us some of the insights with some of the work that she has done as well regarding, the community and how they have been assisting in making sure that they protect the rights of this vulnerable group. But please do remember to join in on the social media conversations. Remember, on Instagram, we are official Africa_Unite, and on Twitter we are Africa_Unite_ZA. On Facebook we are Africa Unite. Masi, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Right, I want us to get straight into it, right? We were discussing some of the laws and the policies, the Refugee Act and all of that, but I really want to hear your story, where you are from, how you got to South Africa, and how everything has been in terms of the protection that you are afforded by these laws, because I know that South Africa is one of the only countries actually in Africa that actually recognizes the status of sexuality as well as gender as a basis for seeking asylum and being a refugee. So what has been your story? How did you get to South Africa? Where are you from?
Thank you so much. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I came to South Africa in 2007. That was after my family and I had a row, and I decided to say, I heard about South Africa, I heard how safe South Africa is for the LGBTIQ community. Why don't I just go there and start my life, preparing myself to become the better mom. Yeah. So that that at that time I was 23 when I left, and my kid was only 3 years old, my baby. And I was like, if I go there, I can be able to live my full, authentic self, and as well be able to provide and fend for my daughter that I had left back home. Yeah. Coming to South Africa, it was a different ball game. Yes. As you know, you'd expect yourself to go into the Home Affairs, get your papers, and then start living your life. But it took so long for me from 2007 until 2010 when I didn't get documentation, and I had to go through the ZTP, the Zimbabwe special permit. Yeah, that's why I had to go to, because I couldn't get any papers from looking for an asylum.
Yeah.
When I mentioned that I am a mom, and I was claiming that I'm lesbian, it already threw me out. Okay, it threw me out to say, how can you be lesbian and have a kid at the same time?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with the Home Affairs, you don't tell your life stories and what happens to you for you to have a baby, as it's going to be a long process. So that cut me out from the asylum process, and I had to go to the ZAP process. In 2016, that's when I found out that we are a lot of people that are refugees and migrants, all undocumented, that are coming from different spaces. And that's how I formed Pachedu. I was like, hey, we don't have organizations that are coming in for us because we are new. Not knowing the language, not knowing where to go to is the other problems that most of our people had. Then I formed Pachedu. Pachedu was it means on ourselves, by ourselves.
Yeah.
So we are
Is it Shona?
It is Shona.
Okay.
It is Shona. So we are a group of about 50, 60 people that are from different countries.
Yeah.
And we take care of each other.
Yeah.
10 rand to buy electricity for the other person.
Okay.
10 rand for health services if someone wants to go to the clinic and everything. And
you mentioned something very important there.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you.
All right.
So when you came in, right, and you sought asylum, the issue of you having a child was already
Yes.
already through the Home Affairs Department of. But do you know of any other people, other stories of people who've actually got asylum? They didn't have children, but they also had the same basis as you, sexuality. Do you know if they've been able to sort of get asylum, as you know, based on their sexuality?
The unfortunate thing is the ones that get asylum, they do not really talk about it, or you don't even know that they're Zimbabweans. So there's this xenophobia happening, and it's also going to homophobia. So people are like, kind of like, if you are Zimbabwean and I'm talking to you, you wouldn't say you're Zimbabwean and you got an asylum through this. But I would say majority of the people that we have in our communities, and like my Leonard brother Thomas said, we do not have people that are documented at all. For being LGBTIQ, they get to go and prove themselves. If you're a man, you have to go dragging out with your drag, your makeup and everything for them to say, yes, we can give you documentation to say you're LGBTIQ. We've got our other brother, Arnold. He had to go to Canada now, and that's where he's staying. And he had to go through with a placard in the Home Affairs to say, I need my papers, I need to be documented. I am Zambian and I am LGBTIQ, but you guys are not seeing me.
Wow.
And he unfortunately, he left South Africa without
So the
getting
laws
documented.
are not as effective. Although, yes, they're very progressive and it's a nice to have, they're not as effective in reality.
Yes.
They're not really implemented.
On paper, yes, everything looks fine, but
Yes.
in reality, the lived realities for us is that what I'm saying to you.
What would you say causes that or hinders the proper implementation of these laws in South Africa specifically?
In South Africa, I don't work for the government, so I won't speak about it in that way.
Yeah.
But I think mostly it's there is failure of understanding. That's why we get people saying, I don't want to go to this Home Affairs office because I was discriminated for my sexuality.
Yeah.
I got to a Home Affairs officer and they asked me to strip off my clothes or to ask me if I can send someone else with you to the bathroom so that they can prove that I am gay or I am lesbian.
Yeah.
So we've got most of our community members that have shunned to go to the Home Affairs and says, as long as we are here, I can do a job for 2 rand or 3 rand rather than be properly documented because I know what I'm going to face when I get to the Home Affairs. Not only is the Home Affairs officials doing that, but they're also putting that person at risk because there is different days of different countries that people go to the Home Affairs. So imagine I'm going to a Zimbabwean Home Affairs day and then there are other Zimbabweans and the person who is at the back of the office is saying, hey, you said you don't have any LGBTIQ people in Zimbabwe. There is one of you. You're already putting me into risk.
Yeah.
A lot of people have done that.
Wow, that's very interesting. We have to take a short break. We'll be back. We are still talking to Masi and a very interesting story she's sharing with us right now. We'll be back right after the break to discuss more about her story and what she thinks can be done. She'll also be telling us about some of the work they do in her organization. Please do not go. Make sure you interact with us on our social media pages. Let us know what you think. Do you think the government of South Africa does enough to protect asylum seekers as well as refugees who are here based on status of sexuality? Let us know what you think on our social media pages. Catch us on our Instagram, on our Twitter, as well as our Facebook. Please stay tuned. We'll see you right after the break. And welcome back to it. Remember, we're still joined by Masi, who's sharing a very personal story about how she came into South Africa and some of her experiences as a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, who is also a migrant. Now, please don't forget to join in on our social media conversations. Make sure you let us know, what do you think the South African government can do more to make sure that the rights of the LGBTQIA+ community are protected in South Africa? Now, Masi is going to be telling us more about the work they do at the Safe Place International as well as Pachetu. She will also be giving us details as to how you can get a hold of them. Mase, welcome back from the ad break.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's very interesting, and I really wish we had more time to discuss all of this. But tell us more about now the work that you do as a solution to some of the atrocities you face as a member of this very vulnerable community.
Thank you so much. So with Pachedu, all we do is advocacy. We go out there and we share our stories, like just what we have done with you, and ensure that we are putting people that are in the higher places in charge or in action, making them have that action of doing what is supposed to be done. Although a bit difficult, but we won't stop our advocacy at any given time.
Yeah.
At Safe Place International, we have a leadership course that is we have a holistic approach of mind, body, and soul. And we believe that if a leader has to come out and be there, speak out, and speak about everything that is happening to them, they should have healed in the first place. So we have that leadership course that has the healing of trauma and the coming up and sprouting up of leaders, whereby they can be able to show up for themselves, not only show up for themselves, be entrepreneurs, and also pull in people also, where we say it's called pass it over, a give over thing, whereby I've got the course, I've gotten the fruit of it from it, I give it to the next person who's really hungry for it and who I see needs to heal first before they step up into leadership, step up into positions that they are calling the government, the president, whoever it is, to action, to what they're supposed to do with our crisis as the LGBTIQ community.
Yeah. Okay. And how do people get involved? How do people get a hold of you? If somebody's sitting right there at home and they want to know, how can we get in touch with you? How can we, get involved in the work that you do?
For Safe Place International, we've got our pages, Safe Place International, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Now we're starting to do something on TikTok, but not yet very much, but we are getting there.
Awesome.
For Pachedu, we also have our Facebook pages, Pachedu Group. We also have it on Instagram, same applies with Twitter. So you can find us in different platforms, and we are also working on a podcast right now where we'll be sharing our stories as migrant and refugees from different countries, and it's going to be a high spectrum because it's going to be different people from different angles. Some in Uganda talking about what is happening in Uganda, some that are in Zimbabwe, some different places that are all over the world that they're going to be taking care of that. Yeah.
Awesome, great. And thank you so much for joining us. I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like we needed more time to discuss this. We actually need the whole day.
I'm actually boiling, so next time, hey.
Thank you so much. Now, thank you so much for joining us today. Please do not forget to join in on the conversation on our social media. We're still talking about some of the challenges that are faced by the migrant LGBTQIA+ community. Make sure you let us know what you think on our social media conversation, because it definitely doesn't end here. We still have to continue the conversations. Now, we will see you next week with another very interesting topic. Please do not forget. Don't forget to join in on our social medias, and see you next time. Bye.